Hello, and welcome to the first tutorial in a series of tutorials that will give you a crash course experience in Maya. This series will take you through the process of modeling a soda can, laying out the UVs, texturing the soda can, and finally lighting and rendering the can. This specific tutorial will be an introduction to Maya architecture and will help you better understand Maya's user interface. Okay, so first I'd like to show you Maya's viewports. That's the most basic part of Maya is the viewport. That's where everything's going to happen. That's where you're going to model pretty much everything except for post-production. So this is your perspective view. And your perspective view is your 3D view where you can view whatever objects you have in your scene. This is just a cube, and now I can rotate around this. The controls are simply if you hold down Alt on your keyboard and you left click on your mouse and drag, you're going to notice that you rotate around the object. It's going to be used to go all the way around the object. If you hold Alt on your keyboard and you middle mouse click and drag, you will pan. These are all very useful camera movement techniques. Right now you're kind of looking through a hypothetical camera, a perspective camera that doesn't actually exist. It's just kind of your view in Maya, but it operates like a camera would if you were looking through a camera in the program. Now if you hold Alt on your keyboard and you right click and drag, you're gonna dolly in and out. You want to pull back into the right like you're pulling yourself in, or push up and to the left to push yourself away. These can all be used in conjunction to make getting around a Maya a little bit more fluid and easy. Now this is just your main perspective view, so if we click this button over here, we'll jump into our 4 views. This will take us back to our perspective view. Your 4 views are really helpful for modeling. I've already got a reference image in there. You can ignore that. This is your right view. You got your front view and your top view. These are very important, and they don't have perspective on them like this view does. These are orthographical views and are used for accuracy and other modeling techniques and reference images and other things like that, like you see here. Now I want to show you something very important in Maya that really gets underused even by me. I mean, I forget all the time that this exists, but it's super helpful, and it's one thing that Maya has that other programs do not have. It's called the Hotbox, and you activate the Hotbox by holding down space on your keyboard. When you hold down space on your keyboard, this is going to pop up, and as long as you hold it, when I let go, it goes away. So, oh, and that's another thing. If that's how you're going to quickly switch between your ports, is if you quickly push the spacebar and let go, you're going to jump out of that viewport, whichever was last selected over here. If I select this one, then I select this one. When I hit space, it's going to jump back to the last one I had selected, so I could go back to this, and then this, and now. Oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's your viewports, and that's how you're gonna look at your model through Maya, especially when you're modeling. So besides jumping in and out of views, the Hotbox can be used for all kinds of awesome stuff. It pretty much has the entire, well, everything you see up here is pretty much included in the Hotbox. So, you know, you can find your edit NURBS, edit curves, you know, create anything. This right here is your top bar up here. You can click on Maya and go and jump through your views this way, which is really helpful and fast. you know, do all your edit mesh stuff through here, you know, when you're modeling. We'll cover this more later. So this is really helpful, and I'm going to try to use this in the tutorials. Try to remember. I'm probably going to forget, but it's really important, and if you start using it now, you're going to be better off than I am now. So that's it for the hotbox. Yeah, everything's there, so don't forget about that. Now, this is ViewCube. This little thing you see up here, this is used to let you know which direction you're looking in your perspective view. Yeah, this is the front. This correlates with the view we have here, this front view. It's, you know, the same. If I click this, it'll take me to that front view. And now I'm in an orthographic view, and I can break out of that just by rotating my camera. This can be used for also, you know, getting back to home base, figuring out your original perspective view. I don't use this a whole lot. It's just good for reference, and I'm sure there's some other things you can do with it. I know you can click corners, get very accurate perspectives if you need that, which is actually pretty helpful for modeling. Another really important thing in Maya is projects. The way that works is you have your file. You know, this would be my file if I were to save this. This would be my file. This would just contain this one scene. You know, if I had 2 blocks in this scene, this would be my 2-block scene. So, which is pretty cool. But that scene has to go somewhere, especially because Maya is used, you know, by huge companies. It's pretty much industry standard for entertainment. Visual effects. So, you know, they're going to be doing bigger projects than just 2 cubes, you know. It gets a little bit more intricate than that, as you'll see. So, if you come up here to File, and you go to your project window, this is where you'll create your new project. So, we would click New. If we were to wanted to create a new project, we would name the project. So, you know, 2 blocks project. Oh, that's right. Maya doesn't like spaces, so we'll come back and you can capitalize the first letter of each words, and that's kind of a common practice. This will be the location. I'm gonna leave this right here because I'm comfortable with this. You know, my name, documents, my project is pretty straightforward. Now down here, this is pretty much just telling you the folders it's going to create, and you can change these names. You know, images is your renders, so if you wanted to call this renders, that's okay. I like to leave everything the way it is because I'm used to this naming architecture. Source images is really important. That's where you're going to put your textures and any image that you're going to use inside the program. Just because anytime you say, you know, open up a texture, it's going to bring you right to this folder. So that's where you want to put your images. I'm not going to create a project, but I was just showing you. We'll do that in the first modeling tutorial where it actually counts. So what you have up here is these tabs. This is going to change everything after assets. So file, edit, modify, create, display, window, assets. These will stay. Everything after that is related to what you have selected here. Animation, you're going to see things like animate, deformers, edit deformer skeletons, skinning, you know, character, muscle, stuff like that. With polygons, you're going to see, you know, selections, main mesh stuff, edit mesh. This is for modeling mostly. This is for dealing with your whole mesh rather than, you know, individual polys and points. You know, create UVs, all that stuff. So this is, you know, And I know this looks like a pain, you can't really scroll through these, but if you use your F keys, F2, F3, F4, I mean, you can cycle through these, F5, F6. These are your most commonly used ones, so my hotkeys are really important. I just started utilizing them to the fullest potential, and it's really sped up my workflow. Now this is the same kind of thing over here. This is going to give you the same kind of stuff, but these are, quicker access tools, and you can click this tab up here and scroll through these with your mouse wheel. So, generally you've got your basic Maya stuff. I don't usually look through this stuff. I'm mostly in this menu, polygons, because, I do a lot of modeling. Surfaces for your NURB surfaces. There's a big difference between these, and we'll cover that in the first modeling tutorial. There's all kinds of stuff, so you can scroll through these. Dynamics are really fun. That's where you'll, bring, physics into the equation, gravity, and stuff like that. And of course rendering, which has your lighting and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to give you, you don't need to remember this stuff. I'm just trying to make you feel a little bit more comfortable in Maya. Mostly because when I first tried to use Maya, I gave up pretty quick, and it took me a little while using other 3D programs before I came back and felt like I had the courage to tackle Maya, and it's just been a lot easier, especially after I watched a tutorial that really broke down the menu and helped me understand what was really going on. Now within these tabs, you're going to use this stuff a lot, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And one thing that's really important for modeling is your polygon primitives. These are composed of edges, polygons. I don't know what's going on here. Hold on a second. Okay, these are composed of, as you can see here, we have polys, or faces, as Maya likes to call them. It is composed of edges and vertices, or points, as some programs like to call them. Really only points and edges exist. If I were to hit 4 on my keyboard, you can see that this is a wireframe view. Really polys are just what fills in that empty space to give you some sort of surface. So when you're selecting a poly, you're selecting the edges and the points. These are your primitives, so these will get you where you need to go, and you start adding geometry to these sort of things. Primitives have inputs, and I'll cover what the attribute editor and channel box editor are in a second, but we can go ahead and jump in here, and you can see that I can add divisions to the cube. This will help me. This is really high res. I wouldn't want to start modeling with something like this. I would either start with a cube or maybe something more like, just a couple divisions. And then you can start adding more detail as you, add resolution to your model. What's cool about Maya is it continues to let you edit these attributes even after you've added, change some points and stuff. The only problem is it's really gonna mess up what you had. Don't count on doing that. You really want to get your basic subdivisions from the very beginning. Just like that with this sphere, you have all these settings here that'll, help you up res, low res, different things. You can get some interesting shapes. And if this is what I needed for my starting point, that's really helpful to go ahead and have something like that. I don't know what the heck you'd need that for, but you never know. I've had some crazy scenarios when I'm modeling things like, oh wow, I never thought of that, or that's a really easy way to start that. Like maybe an oil tank or something. But This is just really handy. The objects being parametric, that is, you know, so I don't have to go in here and select all these edges and delete them. I can just select the number of edges that I want rather than doing that. Now let's say you've got a lot of objects in your scene, you know, let's come out here and grab this, and now I'm going to hit Control D for duplicate. Now I'm going to drag that out. Control D for duplicate again, drag that out. Say you got a lot of objects and you're seeing stuff starting to overlap. You can't really see everything. Like I can't see that cube or that sphere inside the box. You know, I'm in shaded view, I can't see that. As well as I can't see this one, but so you know I want to select that sphere in there, so you know I could go into wireframe mode I guess and select it. I don't like to do that. There's a really handy tool called the outliner, and it does just as it says it would. Right here, this is the tab for the outliner, split view. That's not the only way to access the outliner, you know. You can come up here to window, click outliner. There you go, you have it. You can put it here, you know, embed it somewhere. Or, you know, if you have a dual screen setup like I do, which is really nice and really helpful for Maya, is you can start putting, you know, different windows over there that you use frequently, like your UV layout, your outliner, your render view, your render settings. I put all those over there so I can have this full screen space, you know, while I use this. Right now I'm gonna, for the sake of tutorial, I'm gonna access it through here. The outliner outlines everything in your scene, so you know, you got your sphere 1. That was the first sphere I created right at the origin. Got your cube, you know, and there's the sphere. There's the one that I can't see. See, I selected them in there over here. It's pretty cool. So I can grab that and pull that out, you know. The outliner is really helpful. Also, you know, if there's a lot of clutter in your scene or you have things hidden, you know, it's going to be really helpful for you. And I can still, you know, come in here, then come over here and edit these attributes. Now what it looks like is like I can't edit the attributes on the copies, and that would appear true. It looks like when I copy, when I duplicate, it flattens. If you're familiar with Photoshop terminology, it kind of flattens the palette, you know, the parametric sense of the object. Now I can't add erase edge loops, so it's good to go and do that the first time with your first object before you duplicate it. You really only duplicate once you have something the way you want it, and then you're gonna copy it along a path or something like that. Yeah, in your outline you're gonna find all that stuff. This seems kind of confusing, but really what this is the shape node is this one's gonna hold the data, the inputs, the geometry data. This one is gonna hold the translation data. You know, you translate X, Y, Z, rotate, scale. This is really just, you know, a locator, just something that, you know, helps you move this object around. Don't worry about that too much. Don't feel overwhelmed. Look at things at face value right now, because that's really all you need to do. You don't need to start getting into that nitpicky node stuff at the moment, but we will cover it very soon, because it is the basic architecture of Maya. Now in the outliner, if you come over here, you'll see that it looks pretty simple. You know, this is my scene. I have my perspective, top, front, side view, you know, which are these. Oh, which are these. It's all cool and dandy. You know, you have your objects here, your default light set, and that's your default light. That's when you render here, it's going to give you this default shading. If I didn't have that default light set, everything would be black. Now, yeah, so this looks fine, but let's come up here and click check off DAG objects only. This is your direct draw objects, the things that are right in the viewport. Let's turn this off, and things might get a little bit more intimidating. Now, this is every single invisible thing in your scene. This is every entity in your scene. So you got your sphere, and oh my gosh, this just looks so much more intimidating, but don't worry. This stuff is all here to make sure that Maya operates properly. So don't feel overwhelmed, don't worry about it. Right now at least, this stuff you're gonna want to be able to access later for its values over here. So, later on you're gonna be glad you know where it's at. Right now we can turn this off, and most of the time you don't need that on. Unless you're looking for your physical sun or sky or something, along those lines. Now, like I said, Maya operates on a node-based architecture. If you've never heard of that, it's pretty common in the professional industry, node-based programs. Let me just show you. Let's make this polygon sphere. For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and apply material to it. Don't worry about this stuff. Let's just apply a Lambert. Okay, it's got a new color. I'll change the color just so you see that something happened. Okay, so we applied a material. Now, if we come over here to our hypershade, so where a lot of our node work can be done. When we click this is our empty space. The hypershade is where you're going to do all your material work. You can do it in your viewport, but this is where you're going to do your inputs, outputs, and where you can really get into the nitty gritty of materials. So if we click this object, and we come over here and we click this button, this is going to seem really complicated, but don't worry, you'll understand this as you go and start using Maya. And we're going to click input and output connections. This is going to graph the inputs and the outputs of this sphere. And right up here, these are the inputs and the outputs in your attribute editor. These are all connected. And you will see these in a second. So let's select this. I'm going to click graph. Now what this did was it graphed the input and the output of this sphere. So you've got your sphere. This contains all the data, the subdivisions, that good stuff. This is your shape node, like I told you before. This contains all your translation data, scale data. It's pretty much just there for the object to tell the object where it's located in space, and the other stuff like rotation. And this is your shading engine. This is linked to the new material I made. And this is your group node, and this is just also for navigating your object. This gets confusing, and you'll understand as you go. Don't try to understand it all right now, because you simply won't. It's frustrating, and you don't need it right now. But just know it's there. Know that everything you do creates a node. If I come over here and I grab these polys and I extrude. Now let's go back into our hypergraph, and now we have a poly extrude face. This created a node, and now I can click on this node and come back into here and change things like twist. You can't see a twist. Taper. That's not doing anything. Offset, that should do something. There we go. And still edit this data, even though my object's been manipulated, changed. I can still come back in here and change these settings, which is really cool. Now after you've done a series of extrudes or whatever, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You start to get a lot of this stuff down here. This can get really cluttered really fast. So what you can do about that is, when let's say this object's the way I want it, it's pretty funky looking, but this is what I want. So we can come up, and I don't want all this junk. It's taking up data. It's when I graph the object, there's just a bunch of stuff, stuff I don't want to see, stuff I don't care about. I don't want to mess with these extrudes. I have them just how I want it. All these wires running around, so we can come up here and well, select our object first. Come up here and I believe it's in edit, delete all by type, and we can say, well, not all will delete all in your scene. Let's come up here, delete by type history. Because I have that object selected, it's going to delete its history, and that's a modeling history. Now when I do that, look what we've got here. This will clear the graph. Okay. Come over here and let's graph it again. Whenever it decides to do it. Let's keep trying that. I'm sorry about this. I'm not sure what's happening. Give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. Well, I got it to graph here. I'm not sure what's going on down there, but it graphed here and everything's fine. As you see, I can do that and regraph it. It is pretty much the same thing. And I just wanted to show you that now, all we have is the shape. We don't have all those extrudes. We got rid of the history, so we have less data, smaller files. If you have a whole scene littered with objects that you modeled, you're going to want to delete that history. It's going to really bog down your system. So that's the nodes, and don't worry about that too much. These are all nodes. I mean, everything's a node in Maya. You can add stuff in. Wow, that's ridiculous. Add stuff in, different stuff, connect them together. You'll get into this stuff. It gets a little more technical, inputs and outputs. I don't know what I just did, but that's neat. Okay, I'm just gonna delete all this. As you see, I deleted those nodes, so everything's gone, which is really cool. Everything's a node in Maya. So, see, clear scene, everything's good. So, okay, now I'm gonna take you through some of these tools real quick. I made a cube, not a sphere. And I hit W for my move tool, E for my rotate tool, R for my scale tool. You get your move tool. I can come over and click these as well. Rotate tool. Woo! Yeah, mine's fun. So I can click here, and with my move tool I can move things, of course. Or, as I like to call it, translate. I'm translating this cube. Now you can, do all this stuff, and these are different directions. This is one direction. You can do it from the middle, which will do the whole thing. So yeah, those are really helpful, and they're, you can use them with individual things like vertexes. It's the basis for everything, really. If I select these two, I can rotate them. I can scale them. This is where you start modeling. This is really fun stuff. Yeah, I sound so excited. I know. But no, this stuff's awesome. I love modeling. So those are your tools over here. This is your basic stuff. Oh well, here we go. Here's something that's kind of cool. Let's say you got a bunch of polys. I don't want to, when you select things, it's going to select through it. That's just up here in your tool settings, where it's set to camera, or not camera-based selection. It's on marquee, and there's not camera-based selection, which means it's going to select everything that you select. If I have camera-based selection on, I will only get what I select, face value, if you will. I don't like to use that. It's pretty typical. You're doing this, and oh, come over here, control, undo your selection. That's pretty typical Maya stuff. You get used to that. Pretty quick as well. So, but let's say I want to, extrude a smiley face, and I'm sitting here, blah, 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 blah. So, what you can do is come up here to your paint selection tool, and This is way too big. See? Let's hold B and left click. B for buzz. Pull that down with left click. And let's deselect that. Let's come back to that. Now, just look at this. This is great. This is wonderful. And I'm not selecting anything else. This is face value as well. And I'm not having to hold shift to add to my selection. I can just paint. I can control click to take it off or change my brush size. Control click, you know, it's great stuff. Very helpful. So now I can, you know, make a little smiley face, a little boop, boop. That was much easier, and that looks totally awesome. Ah, I lost my selection. That's okay. That happens in my. So those are your tools. Those are two good ways to select stuff. Very helpful. One thing is when you're using your move tool, if you see I click this, see how it's turning yellow? That's for a good reason. It's not just Maya being stupid. And if you click in the middle, you'll see all of them are reset to their default color, and the center is yellow. What that means is that is your last selected axis. If I come way over here, and I middle click, and drag all around, it's going to move on that axis. So click this one, middle mouse drag around. Isn't that cool? Oh, let's click the middle. Oh, look at that. It's moving it along that plane, the XZ plane. And of course, well, if I were to hold shift, it's going to move in that one direction. If I hold control, oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's pretty handy. You know, if you're over here and you need to move it up and down, I'm moving it right now, you just can't tell, I promise. Actually, look in the bottom left, you can see I'm moving it. So that's cool. Another thing, you know, if I want to move in just the X and the Z, not the Y, you know, if I try to do this, I'm like, whoa, moving in all directions. So what you do about that is you can control click and axis, and once you do that, it's only going to move in the other two axes. So if I control click this one, it's going to move in the Y and the Z, and if I grab the Z, it's going to move in the Y and the X. Super, super helpful, trust me. All of this seems pointless, but it will all have its purpose. Oh, well, I lost my object. I don't know where I am, and I lost my object. What do I do? Well, here's what you do. You can hit F for frame object. Whoop. Takes you right to the object. That's pretty cool. And now I'm rotating around the object. You know, if I'm down here and now the camera is set to rotate around that object, so I'm not rotating around the center anymore. So that's really helpful for setting your new axis of rotation for your perspective camera. And for centering on an object, you know, if I even select a face and hit F, oh, there we go, all the way up on there. Now select a vertice. Now, whoop, look at that. Oh, well, okay. See, what I did was I selected 2 because it selects through. So let's select this one. There we go. That's pretty cool. So that's what F does. Don't forget that. Very important. Let's say you've got a lot of objects and you're seeing, once again, you know, there's a common problem among visual effects artists. We're not very organized, so this stuff can happen a lot. I need to grab this top corner vertice up here, and I just, you know, there's too much stuff in the way. So what you can do, you know, I just want to work on this one cube. I don't want all this other stuff in the way. And, you know, I don't want to, yeah, I could come through and click all these. This is kind of something else. come through here, select all these, and hit Control H. Control H is hide, but that's kind of a lot of work, especially if there's tons of objects in my scene. Let's Control Shift H will unhide your last selected. So, you know, that's too much work. I've got stuff back here, stuff back here. I don't have time to select all that and hide. Come up here and click this little button right here. Isolate selected. Now, all I have is my cube, and I can come in here and select that one vert, and then I can click this again, and there we go. I am good. Or, you know, I can keep this here until I am, what happened? Oh, wow, I didn't know you could do that. You can isolate a vertice. That's really cool. So if I want to get back to that, I can do this, and I guess I could just, you know, select some faces and isolate those. Whoa. Okay. My bad, sorry. Okay, I'm confusing myself. Anyways, that's all fun stuff, you know. Isolate selected, unisolate, and then Control H, hide, Control Shift H, unhide. Pretty helpful modeling stuff. Now here's something I did earlier that I didn't really explain. Let's create a new cube. Hit F. Remember that? Nifty trick. If you come into your inputs, you can see I was doing this kind of stuff. Interactivity. I love interactivity. I hate having to punch in a number, hit enter, and then see the result. So the way you do that is click it, and this is just for the channel box. Click any of these values, or all three of them. Come out here in middle, mouse click, and drag. See how it turns into that little slider? Isn't that crazy? That's pretty cool. Interactivity. Woo! Okay. Same with this stuff, you know, everything. It's all good. Anything in the channel box, we'll do that. If you come to the attribute editor, though, and, you know, click this, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's working because it's still selecting the channel box, see? Let's deselect that. Okay, now it's not doing anything. Oh, it's not working. What do you do? That's because you're in the attribute editor. It works a little bit differently. If I come to this little box right here and I control middle click, you can do the same thing, but in here. Just control middle click. It's really cool. This is really useful for a lot of stuff. You'll see what I mean as you start to get further and further into Maya. Now I'm going to explain a really important concept to you, which is smoothing. Other programs might call it something else. Cinema calls it hyperNURBS. I think Max calls it smoothing groups. Essentially what it is right here I've got 6 polys, like a dice, you know, a cube. I've got 6 sides. If you hit 1 on your keyboard, see down here, smoothness set to 1. 2, oh, what happened? That looks crazy. Well, what really happened was it subdivided the cube twice, and I'll show you exactly what it's doing. First, when you hit 2, though, it's going to give you your poly cage. I'll just go and hit 3 and show you what really happened. If I hit 3, you'll see this is just the subdivided mesh. So 1 and 3, this is your unsmoothed and your smoothed. And then 2, which I don't use as often, but it's good for modeling, is your poly cage. That's showing the original that you can still come in and edit these points, and it'll affect your. It's almost like a deformer, but it's not. Don't get confused with that. So let me show you what this is really doing. Let me duplicate this. Pull these and I'll smooth this one. If you look close, you can kind of see these edges in here. What it's doing is essentially, if I were to click this and come up here and click the subdivide button, or smooth, same thing, subdivide. Other programs might call it subdivide. It's a little bit more accurate term. If I click this once, it split all my polys into 4 polys. So instead of 4, now I have 16. This still doesn't look like that, and that's because this is being subdivided twice. So let's go ahead and do that again. See a difference? You don't, because there isn't a difference. What happened was I subdivided all 4 of those into 4 more. I don't know what number that is. I want to say 64, but I'm probably wrong. So, but see, the thing is, this one's actually subdivided. What this one is under right now, see, you don't see the lines, is a smooth mesh preview. And what this does is it's showing me what my blocky geometry would look like if I were to do this to it. If I were to subdivide it twice. That's what this smooth mesh preview does. So, you know, now I can subdivide this, and this is going to cut each of these into fourths and cut each of those fourths into fourths. So let's go ahead and hit 3. Look at that. We pretty much made a cube into a pretty odd looking sphere. That's super smooth because there's tons of geometry. It's the same as us doing this, which is ridiculous. That's way too much. You know, this could be used for a final head sculpt or something like that, but, well, not used for it, but that's the only time you'll really, I mean, there's a couple times you'll want this high res geometry, but not very often. Mostly if you're exporting to different things. So we can undo that. Let's go ahead and keep going back. Okay, well, that's fine. Now you're like, well, that's a bit extreme. How do I, you know, I want this to still look like a cube, but just softer. Well, what this is doing is it's rounding this edge based on these edges and where they're located to the nearest edge. Now, as this comes inwards, as it smooths, it's gonna hit this other edge, and so you know you're gonna end up getting this kind of a thing. So don't worry about this tool, but I'm gonna use the insert edge loop tool in this. I'm just gonna add some more geometry, and I'll show you what this does. We'll go over this tool in much more detail in the modeling tutorial. This added more geometry though. In the same way you would do this kind of a thing. It's the same kind of division as these, but these are just preliminary. You can do at the beginning. You know, you could actually use these as your bounding edges. If I go and smooth this, you're going to see that looks, you know, because it's smoothing from here to here rather than from here to the center. There's less smoothing going on. That looks really good. That looks really soft, actually. So, you know, usually you're going to want harder edges than that, so I'm going to go ahead and just go through here and add some edge loops. This is what modeling's all about. I mean, not hard surface modeling, which most things aren't hard surface, unless you're modeling exteriors of buildings or machinery. So now if I were to smooth this, it's going to smooth from here to here, here to here, here to here, you know, here to here, all that. So look at that, that's fantastic. I have a really good crease on there. It looks very soft and very convincing. If you want to take a look at what's actually happening, we can subdivide this twice and just look at that geometry. So because I had these tighter loops, it's adding more loops in these smaller spaces, creating more of a crease. So you know, you have less geometry out here, more geometry holding these edges. Just kind of look at it like they're holding the edges. So that looks good. That's what smoothing is, and smoothing's used in a lot of stuff. I mean, it's something you need to understand if you're going to start modeling. And you know why I don't want to go ahead and subdivide this is for the simple fact that if I were to try to, if I wanted to, you know, if I just wanted to grab this, you know, this stuff and pull it this way, it's just not going to happen like that. So we come back to here, I can do something like this and pull this back and then maybe rotate this so it's more, but you get the point. It's just easier to model with less geometry and then smooth mesh preview it to see how it's looking before you actually subdivide or flatten the object, the parametric qualities. Okay, so don't forget about that. It's important. Now I'm sure you've seen me do this a lot so far, but I'll go ahead and finally just explain what I'm doing here when I select these different portions. If you right click and hold, you're going to get this pop-up. This is your little whip. It's really handy. I think I like the way Maya does its stuff. No other programs do this, and this is just, it's just its own little beast. I love it. So if we you know, we can select any of these. Your three main ones are going to be edge, face, vertex, and UV, of course. We don't need to worry about that right now, but then there's multi, of course, which is like, you know, a little bit of everything, but I don't understand that mode and I don't use it. I'll probably learn one day, but that's pretty much how you select different parts of your object. Oh, and well, real quick, object mode is very important. That's how you get out of this mode. You know, if I'm in this mode, I can't. How do I move my whole object? I don't know. I mean, I could select all of them and move it, but object mode is your main mode. This is where you're just going to be moving your actual mesh, not any individual components. So another way to grab components in a real quick way, like I was going to tell you, is to use the F9, F10, F11 keys. You can just hit F9 for points, F10 for edges, and F11 for polys. This is awesome, and I'll be using that in the video, so if you see me jumping around between selection types, that's how I'm doing it. Something I meant to show you at the beginning was obviously the 4, 5, 6. I had told you a little bit about it, but just how you know, 4 is your wireframe, 5 is your shaded, and probably if you're opening up a new scene and you create an object, it's going to be in wireframe mode, so you're going to want to shade it with 5, the button 5 on your keyboard, 4, 5. 6 is texture mode. If I had a texture on here, it would show it after hitting 6. And 7 is light mode. Right now it's showing me the lighting on my object, which there is none, so let's go ahead and make a point light and pull that up. Look at that. If I've got 5 activated, it looks like this. If I hit 7, we've got I can come in here and change the intensity of this just to see it change in real time. It's really cool. Really good for your seeing, you know, what your lights are illuminating. Also change the color of the light. It's pretty cool stuff. Woohoo! Now I'm going to show you just a little bit of animation. This is just so you understand all this stuff down here. Right now I can show you the basics. If we make a cube, let's turn it back to 5 so we can actually see our object. How this works, you have your keyframes. Let me put this, yours will be set to 24. I messed with it earlier, sorry about that. And probably have this set to like 12 or something. Or, no, I don't know, maybe this is 48, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's like this. These keyframes, 24 keyframes make up a second. I know that seems like a lot, and it is, but thank God we don't have to keyframe every single key, we have interpolation, which if I set something here and something at 1, it's going to figure out what to do in between those frames. We can start just by hitting S. And, oh, there we go. Okay, hit S. If you look down here, you're going to see this red line. That resembles a keyframe. So let's go down to like something like 18. Let's pull this over here. Let's hit S. Let's pull this back. Look at that. Animation. Cool. Crazy. Wonderful. It gets a lot more complicated than this. But this is the basis, setting keyframes. So then let's go ahead and, well, this is your time slider, and down here this is your viewport time slider, your visibility slider, where you're going to see, because right now I have a total of 48 frames in my scene. This number will change accordingly to what this is set to, so I can pump some in here at 24. I'm going to go ahead and bump this up to 100. Give me some animation room. Let's come down here to 30 and pull this somewhere up here, hit a keyframe, and then pull it down over here. And I don't know if this will work. Let's go ahead and scale it down. Oh, it did. That's wonderful. So whoop, whoop, whoop. Animation. 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 It's cool. Now, that's all fine and dandy, and you can play it. It's really cool. You see though how it's it kind of goes into each movement. Instead of going boop boop boop, it's it's kind of soft in between those turns. That is because the interpolation type is set to spline. And what this is doing is it's trying to smooth out the animation. It does this by default. Don't be intimidated by this, but I'm going to pull up the graph editor. And this simply shows your animation and the values according to the animation. And I can come through here, so like right here, and I can edit this value. Oh, here we go. And see, it's going to update it in real time. Real cool stuff. So now I am getting a phone call. Give me 1 second. Hey, sorry about that. I was talking to my friend about something to do with actually this tutorial series, texture. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. See, this is all curvy because it's smoothing these out with a spline. So what I can do about this, just like these. This is my X, by the way, or my Z. Translate Z. This is just regarding a value. It's not saying the object is moving up and down, because as you can see, what this is regarding is the Z movement. See, this is the Y. The green is the Y, and the Y-axis is the up axis, and that's why it starts to move up. As you can see, this is kind of how it works. It combines all these channels together. So let's go ahead and select all these. Let's just select all of them. And let's click linear. I think this, yeah, linear. I see what that did. It made all these hard edge. So like I said before, it's not woo woo. It's more like doot 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 doot. Straightforward, more like a mechanical animation. See that? That's a boring kind of animation, but sometimes it's necessary. You can always put these back to spline. Get that smooth tangent again, and then you can change these, edit the handles, and mess with all that. We don't need to get into that right now. So that's how you animate something. Now I'm just real quick gonna take you through the render settings and render jazz. So let's go and just delete this. We'll make a sphere. Spheres look good. Rendered. Now if you can't even tell, this is unsmooth. I know that's ridiculous to say because it looked pretty smooth. But if you see the edges, these hard edges, if I hit 3, now that's a smooth sphere. It's a good looking sphere. Alright, see the difference? Okay. Not much of a difference, but you know, there's a lot more polys in this one. So let's make a 4. It's a little something I like to do. You can come up to this channel box editor, just go ahead and grab these scales, or well, do this, and let's put in 1000. Endless floor. I mean, not totally endless, but you know, for the most part. My zoom is just being weird. I'm sorry, my computer has been weird lately. Bear with me. That's why my zoom doesn't seem to always work. Let's take a little render. Oh wow, that looks flat and boring. Just no interaction going on between anything. This is default lighting, and default lighting isn't really anything other than ambient lighting. There's no shadows, no nothing. There's really no light source. Let's turn my resolution gate. The resolution gate will show you exactly what will be rendered. If I don't have this on, I render, you know, let's say I want to see over here, and I hit render. My render size, which is 640 by 40, is not as wide as my viewport. So if I turn on the resolution gate, which is this little image right here, I will see exactly what I see. So, you know, we got a little bit of space, a little bit of space, a little bit of space. Just to test that out. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, good. Now, I'm just gonna slap some stuff in here, and just for the render purpose. This is your render settings button, and of course this is your render. IPR is an instant updating render. I'll show you that in a second. If you go into your render settings, this is where you're really going to decide things about your render. Yours is going to be on Maya software by default. I don't know why I changed all these. I'm an idiot. So you're going to be in Maya software, and when you render, it's going to, you know, look something like this. Maya software is not a bad renderer. You know, it's good for using rendering out passes and then compiling later, or just doing some special effects. Mental Ray is a great renderer. It's a ray trace renderer, which when you use Mental Ray and you use its lighting and you use its its settings in here, it's going to be shooting out rays from the camera, bouncing the rays and sending the rays back to the camera to retrieve data for light and all kinds of things, reflection. It's really cool. This is where your size is going to be first off. So we'll just leave that there. We'll come over, yeah, go ahead and change this to Mental Ray. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Go ahead and change that to Mental Ray, and we'll start messing with Mental Ray. Come over here to quality, and let's put, this should be somewhere like 0. Or maybe -1, I'm not sure. I believe it's on -1 on your machine. And you're going to see this nasty stair stepping. If you zoom in, you'll see it. It's nasty, gritty. You know, even when you're zoomed out, this is your 1x1 button. This is going to, you know, put it back to its default resolution in the screen. Now, let's save this. This is the save button, and when I click keep image, this isn't saving it on my computer. This is saving it for a comparison. So if I come over here and bump this up to something like 2, which is a good default for your final render. You know, you don't need, you can keep it at 1 while you're doing preview renders, but 2 is pretty decent, and it's not going to be as taxing as 3. So let's go ahead and render. See, it took a little bit longer, but look at that result. So we can go and straight up compare the two. You can compare them. Just go ahead and drag back and forth. Just watch this bottom right here. How clean that looks. And we can go ahead and keep that. If we bump it up to something like 3, you're going to see a longer render time, but a better result. Oh, that's wonderful. That's so smooth. If we compare it to something like the first one, I'll delete the middle one and we'll just get a straight comparison. That looks so much better. Just look all around it as I go back and forth. So this is your anti-aliasing, and if you're familiar with it, what anti-aliasing is in video games or anything, it's getting rid of that stair-stepping effect, softening those edges less pixelated, I guess you could say. I'll bump this back down to 2. I don't really ever go to 3 unless I'm feeling cocky, which isn't very often. Let's see. Let's go over here to indirect lighting and create a physical sun and sky. This is for an outdoor scene, but I am just trying to quickly set up a lighting scenario that I could show you. Let's see what that did. Wow, that looks awesome. Now this is where 3D really starts to get fun. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I love this stuff. This is a simulation of a physical sun and sky. So now we got a shadow and everything's looking really good. Now we come in here and we click this. This is going to take us to this is your nodes ins and outs. So this will take us to, should select our sun in our attribute editor. Now, I am not totally sold on the direction of the sun. I want more of a shadow, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on IPR. When I click IPR, it's going to give me this wireframe, which lets me see. This is an instant updating render, so if I click and drag, it's going to update the area within. Now watch this. This is awesome. I don't really like that angle. Let's turn it over here. Oh, look at that. Isn't that awesome? Alright. Cool. Now let's try to change the angle of the sun. Alright, here we go. Sorry about that. I opened up my outliner and well, you can leave it DAG objects only. It's the sun direction right here. You can click this and you'll see this little thing pop up. We just come in here and choose our rotate tool. It's actually that simple. So let's just rotate this back and actually let me show you what this is doing. So there we go. That elongated the shadow because I changed the direction. Adding to our render time. It's trying to figure out the shadow, and that's a really nasty looking shadow. You can fix that in the render settings. But I'm going to turn on wireframe so you can really see what's happening. What's happening is that I'm changing the direction of these arrows, and that's the direction of the sun. So the sun's going to be coming in this direction. So I can really just grab this right in the middle and just point it wherever I want. If I want it straight down, if I want it real low. Look at this. This will give me a real low render. I like sunset. But see, this just looks awesome. I love rendering. This is what really caught me up in 3D, was seeing the render product. I just love it. And materials and textures and all that. I'm just so into that stuff. Let's go ahead and close this. Oh man, it's slowing all down. Let me just try to, there we go, okay. Once that's closed, it's not going to be auto-updating anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. But anyways, that's, a good introduction to the render settings. That turned on final gather and global illumination. Global illumination is essentially light hitting an object, bouncing off the object, and that light emitting light onto another object. So it's pretty much an object emitting light onto another object, which will give you more light in these dark areas. It won't look so contrasting, it'll look more realistic because global illumination exists. It's going to add to your render time. Final gather has a good amount to do with global illumination, and they work in tandem, and you can look up more about final gather on your own. So that looks like a good, there's stuff like depth of field, which is blurriness back here, and visibility here. There's stuff like motion blur, which is gonna blur. I can show you what motion blur does. It looks like it's already set. So if we have this here, and I set a key, and then come over here to 24 and set a key over here. When this is in the middle, let's do a render and see if this works. Okay, it looks like it's working. You're gonna have motion blur, And this is just looks great when you render out an animation and the object moves and you don't see it crisply move, but you see a motion blur and it looks beautiful. It's used all the time along with depth of field. It's a very common practice. There's a lot of stuff like this that you can do. Really good stuff. Well, I might as well go ahead and just batch render out this for you and just let you see and show you how to render something out. So I'm going to render frame 16 to 25. So let's get back into our settings here. Let's come down. Now something that's really annoying that you'll forget about is that to render on animation, you can't just click batch render. You have to come down to this stupid little thing and click something other than single frame, because yours will be set probably to this or to this, and it's going to say single frame. You can just set this to anything that doesn't say single frame. I just clicked the first one. It's just a different naming convention. Okay, start frame. We want to start at 16 and we want to end at 25. So you can see that motion blur. And everything else looks fine. Let's go and bump our quality down to 1. We don't need that kind of quality. It's just going to take longer. Okay, now if you haven't set up a project, these will go into a default My Project when you click render. These images will. If you have a project set up, they're going to go into your images folder. So we can change this to rendering and come up here to render and click batch render. Now down here you're going to see rendering with mental ray, and this is now rendering. So here in a second it should start going through each frame and I'll start seeing that happen. And when that happens, I'll pause the video and start it up again whenever. Okay, here we go. So it's running the first frame. See how fast that's going? Okay, and it's telling me right here the frames. So I'll unpause this when it's done. Alright, now see, that's what we have here. See, that look great, the motion blur. I love it. I might have deleted the first couple because it shouldn't be motion blurred, but yeah, I think it was 16 and 25. Anyways, you see how it works, and this is, you know, stuff in motion. It looks awesome. We could have that motion blur looks pretty sloppy. We could have made that look a little bit better, but other than that, I gave you a solid introduction to Maya, so I hope now you feel a little bit more comfortable in Maya. And you know, when I first tried to use it, it was really intimidating, so I needed something like this sort of a video that really just broke it down, because the scariest part is just all these menus, all these buttons, you don't know what they do. Right now, you know, you don't need to focus on all that. You need polygons, you know, general curves, stuff like that, you know, rendering. You know, don't worry about paint effects, don't worry about tune, muscle, fluids, don't worry about any of that, or even fur, hair. Inkcloth is fun though, but still, don't worry about it. You know, you got what you need over here. Stay where you're comfortable, expand out slowly, and don't feel like the program has the best of you, because it doesn't. It just is a steep learning curve, but once you get over the intimidation factor, everything should be fine. So in the next tutorial, we're going to show you how to model a soda can, and then, you know, eventually texture it, render it, light it, all that good stuff. So I'll see you there. Thank you.